And the rest came to celebrate. I'm extremely humbled to share and teach 2 or 3 lines from today's daf of Daf Yomi. We're standing now about 100 years since the Daf Yomi started in Rosh Hashanah of 1923, and we're in the middle of the 14th cycle on the 49th daf of Masechet Sotah. Just one comment about Rav Meir Shapiro, who we learned a little bit about. He also died when he was 46 years old in 1933, and he, if you see a picture of him, he has a black beard because he died very young, and it's just a little bit, overwhelming. He was younger than I am, and he made an enormous impact on our world. So one of the things mentioned on today's daf is an analysis of a pasuk. The pasuk is from Kitavo, and Parshas Kisavo has in it, anyone know what Parshas Kisavo has?
Tochacha.
The Tochacha. It has a very long description of what's going to happen if we don't do the right thing. And we're going to be exiled, and we're going to be punished, etc., etc. And the very last 2 or 3 psukim, the Torah says, "V'hayu chayecha tulu im lecha mineged," your life will be precarious. "Upachadeta laila yomam," you'll be in fear day and night. "V'lo ta'amin b'chayecha," and you won't have any faith in your ability to survive. "Baboker tomar miyitein erev, Uba erev tomar miyitein boker." At night you're going to say, if only it could be the morning. And in the morning you're going to say, if only it can be the night. And here's what the Gemara asks about this line. Amar Rava, B'chol yom vayom meruba klalaso mishal chavero. Rava says that what the Torah is telling us about our punishment and about our exile is that every day will be worse than the day before. Shenamar ba'boker tomar miyitein erev uba erev tomar miyitein boker. So the question is this: when the morning comes and you say, if only it will be the night, and when the night comes you say, if only it's the morning, which morning are you talking about? Are you talking about tomorrow morning, hoping that tomorrow morning will come? Or are you wishing it was this past morning? And the Gemara says, Ilei ma boker de la machar mi yada mai havi. If you interpret the hope for the morning to be tomorrow, we don't know that it will be better. Why would anyone hope for tomorrow? Ella de chalaf. What the Torah is saying, that each day will be worse than the day before, and each day you'll be saying, I wish it was yesterday. Because yesterday was bad, but today is worse, and tomorrow will be worse than that, and I only wish it was yesterday. Of course, this isn't true about every day of exile, but it's certainly true of many of the days of our exile, where each day was worse than the day before, and we were constantly wishing that we can go back in time to yesterday. The Gemara continues, Ve'ela alma amai kamakayim. If that's the case, that every day is worse than the day before, so how do we go on? How do we exist without any hope that tomorrow will be better? And the Gemara answers, Akidusha de Sidra ve'ayeheshmei rabba de agadata. The source of our hope is the Kedusha de Sidra. That refers to Kedusha that we say as part of a Valatzion, and Yeheshmei Rabba that we say in the Kaddish de Rabbanan after we learn Torah. So my question is simply, what does this mean? How does saying Valatzion and the Kedusha in Uvalitzion and saying Yeshmei Rabbah enable us to have the courage and the optimism to overcome an experience of exile where every single day is worse than the day before and is more of a living hell than the day before. So I want to share or suggest just one or two possibilities. First of all, what's unique about Yeshmei Rabbah and the Kedusha in Uvalitzion? These are the only tefillot that are said in Aramaic. And what they're saying is that if we can say Kaddish in the language of exile, and we can find the ability to recognize God's greatness even when it's so hidden, then we have a hope in the future. But I want to unpack this just a drop more and look at the actual words of Kedusha. The Kedusha starts with Nikadesh, which is an introduction. Nikadesh et Shemcha ba'olam. Let's talk about God's sanctity. Kishem shmakdishim oto b'shmei maro. Like they praise Hashem in the heavens, the angels. And then we say how the angels praise Hashem by quoting psukim from the Navi, which describes Malachim praising Hashem. The first pasuk, but they don't come together in the Tanakh. The first pasuk comes from Sefer Yeshayahu. Yeshayahu, this is actually part of the Merkava vision, where he says, I see Hashem sitting on the throne of glory. Seraphim omdim imalo. There are these seraphim above the crown, above the throne, and they turn to each other and they say, Kadosh, 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 Hashem tzvaot, Meloch al haaretz kvodo. God is holy. The whole world is full of His kedusha. Now, Yeshayahu HaNavi says he sees the entire world full of Hashem's kedusha. Why does he see the world in that way? Why does Yeshayahu see the world this way? Because he lives during the time of the Beit HaMikdash, where we have sovereignty in our land, we have a Beit HaMikdash, and he's saying that God's presence fills the entire world. The second pasuk comes from Sefer Yechezkel. And the second pasuk says, Leich ba el hagolah. God tells Yechezkel, go to the exile. V'dibartem aleihem v'amarto aleihem. You should go to them and tell them my message. V'tisaini ruach v'ashma acharei korash gadol baruch kvod Hashem mimkamo. God is blessed in His place. How is this pasuk different than the previous pasuk? How is Baruch Kvod Hashem Mimkomo different than Kadosh 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 Hashem Tzvaot Meloch al haaretz kvodo? Yes. It's only one thing. It's more limited. And how expansive is the praise? Where does he envision God is located? Where is God located in this pasuk? Somewhere. Baruch Kvod Hashem Mimkomo. God is blessed in His place. That means He's not everywhere. He's somewhere. Wherever He is, He's great. As opposed to Meloch al haaretz kvodo. What Yechezkel is saying is that I live during the exile. I'm going to... What Yechezkel is saying is, I'm speaking about the exile. You know why God is in a certain place? Because when you're in the exile, we don't see Hashem everywhere. When we're in the exile, we don't see His presence everywhere. We see Him very hidden. He's somewhere, but just not here. Not in the place where we're experiencing a hell where each day is worse than the day before. That's not the place of Hashem. Yechezkel couldn't say, Meloch al haaretz kvodo, the whole world is full of God's presence, because it was not evident. And in the Kedusha, what do? We combine these two psukim, and we say, sometimes we recognize that Maloch ha'aretz kavodo, that the whole world is full of God's presence. And sometimes we realize that God is only in the distance. But it's only when we recognize both of these facets that we can conclude the Kedusha with what? Yimloch Hashem li'olam elokayich tzion l'dor v'dor, hallelujah. That the only way that we can have a relationship with a God who is always going to be our God, who is eternally our God, is if we realize that we don't always experience His involvement in the world in the same exact way. Sometimes it's Maloch ha'aretz kvodo, but sometimes it's in the distance, Baruch kvod Hashem mimkomo. And I think that this is the response of the Gemara. The Gemara says, how do we experience an exile which is so bad? And the answer is that we always have an optimism and we always have the ability to change the interpretation of the pasuk to mean that ba'erev yomar mi'itei boker, that even when things are difficult, we can have a hope that tomorrow will be better. And that is really what sustains us in our exile. The amazing thing about the Daf Yomi is that it gave us a way to connect to Hashem in a daily way, and it also created a unity of the entire Jewish nation, that Jews all over the world are learning the same exact daf every single day. I had an idea. Unfortunately, I was asked to speak today just a few weeks ago, but if I was asked maybe 2 months ago, I probably would have started learning Masechet Sotah and made a siyum today on the last day of the Daf Yomi in this incredible place. But A, I didn't have enough time, and B, I would have felt a little bit like an imposter since I don't usually learn the Daf Yomi. But I had a similar experience that I went to, when I was in high school, I went to the Siyum HaShas. Our teacher took us in Madison Square Garden, and since then, I don't always necessarily go to the Daf Yomi Siyum because, again, I feel a little bit like an imposter because I didn't learn the Daf Yomi. This past Siyum, I went for 2 reasons. The first is that someone invited me to an indoor suite to watch it, so it's hard to say no to that, especially in January in MetLife Stadium. And the second reason why I went is because I want to identify with this community of learning that was created by this initiative. And even those who don't learn Daf Yomi are part of this united community. And just think for a minute, how many people today are saying the words, and we had the opportunity to hear 3 people saying it, Hadron Allah Masechet Sotah, Hadron Allah. Thousands of Jews today completed Masechet Sotah. And they said, Yehi ratzon l'fanecha Hashem Elokai. Let it be Hashem's will. Kishem she'azartanu l'sayim, or I should say, Kishem she'azartem l'sayim Masechet Sotah, just like Hashem. Help them complete Masechet Sotah. Kein ta'azreinu l'hatchil Masechet Sotah s'orim acherim l'sayimam. So too may Hashem help us all begin Masechtot and Sfarim and complete them. L'lmod u'la'amed, to learn and to teach. L'shmor la'asot u'l'kayim, to observe and fulfill et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha b'Yahava. U'schut kol ha'tana'im v'amoraim v'talmidei chachamim, and the merit of all the Talmidei Chachamim of our history. Ya'amod lanu u'l'zareinu, should stand for us and our descendants. Shelo tamush ha'torah mipi nu mipi zar'enu ad olam, that the Torah should be part of us forever. V'yitkayim banu, and let Hashem fulfill in us. B'talecha tanche odach, v'shachbecha tishmor alecha, v'akitzota hi tisichecha. When you walk, it will lead you. When you lie down, it will watch over you. You're learning. When you awake, it will speak with you. Ki bi yirmu yamecha v'yasifu l'cha shnot chayim, because Through me, your days will be lengthened and your years will be increased. Orech yamim b'yamina u'b'smola usha v'chavod. Let long life be on its right and dignity and prosperity in its left. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom. Hashem gives strength to his people. He should bless us with peace.
Amen.